This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Trailing to Reaction. I've always had a kind of complex relationship with Christopher Nolan and his films. I've seen most of them, and while they all tend to be technically proficient, they tend to be somewhat cold and lacking in imagination. For instance, what first comes to mind is Inception, and that revolves around dreams. But I can't speak for anyone else, but if those are Christopher Nolan's dreams, he has the tamest dreams in the world. It's not it hints at imaginative, speculative spaces, but it never commits to imaginative, speculative spaces. He's a talented director to be sure, but he just doesn't, it's not his ballywick. Which is interesting because it's a place he always tends to veer off to at some time or another. I think that's interesting, but he's just not, he's a visually innovative director, but his innovations oftentimes aren't things you can really see. If you look into his films after the fact, you'll learn that to do certain things, there's real innovation going on, like Interstellar. There's some remarkably innovative things in that movie. But, at least for me, not a lot of them were on screen. I found it an enjoyable movie, though on the whole, it was fine. For someone who creates spectacle, Nolan doesn't do that well. His movies, I think, honestly, if you gave this man half the budget, you could do what he does. He's a high enough level director that he could get the talent he wants. Probably anyone would kill to be in a Christopher Nolan movie. And they would do it for less pay as well, I'm sure of that. And so his films are just so not very speculative in terms of look that I don't know sometimes where the money goes with this guy. But that being said, he has a new movie called Tenet, and I read somewhere that it's science fiction-y. The poster looks very much in the vein of Inception, so let's take a look at that trailer.
We all believe we'd run into the burning building, but until we feel that heat, we can never know. You do. You chose to die instead of giving up your colleagues. That test you passed? Not everybody does. Welcome to the afterlife.
Let's do that.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand
It sounds like Don Cheadle.
we're trying to prevent World War III.
I know he's Denzel Washington's son, but it sounds like Don Cheadle.
No. Something worse.
All I have for you is a word. Tenet. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
You have to start looking at the world in a new way.
Don't try to understand it. Feel it.
What happened here?
Hasn't happened yet.
Well, that was a trailer for Tenet, and what it seems to be doing is essentially time travel, but in pockets, in little little areas. So if you recall towards the end of the trailer, or even prior to the end of the trailer, you saw a boat moving backwards. Nothing else, if I recall, was, but the boat was. And to the highway scene, you see cars flipping over, but then reversing the motion. It looks like time is being affected in pockets. That's the word I was trying to find. Time is being manipulated in pockets so that the effect, as opposed to being a worldwide effect, is local and focused. That's what seems to be happening. The question is why and how. It looks interesting. But then again, though, it looks interesting. The thing is, so did Inception, which I tend to think of as a very unimaginative movie, despite the subject matter. So, would I see Tenet? Sure, why not? It looks interesting to be sure. But with Nolan films, I've learned to keep my expectations, in terms of imaginative visuals, to keep my expectations relatively low, because his work tends to be so grounded that it's visually not that interesting. We'll see. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Trail into Reaction. Peace.